Hello, everybody. My name is Mandy Sally. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at the Woodhull Freedom Foundation, and I'm really thrilled to welcome you to the April Censorship Series program. This month, I am extra excited because I have a fabulous co-host joining me, Jamila Aisha, who's going to tell you about herself in just a second. I want to thank Jamila so much for being here, and I'm really excited about the panel we're going to host today. So, Jamila, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to join us for this month's program.
Well, thank you, Mandy, for that introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here as well. As Mandy said, my name is Jamila Aisha, and I am the owner of the WOW Group, offering sexual empowerment consultations through education, coaching, and advising and advocacy. And just as a Black woman who is crafting a career in sexology, sexual liberation, and sexual expression, discussing how censorship impacts my day to day life, my beliefs, and my organizations is very important to me. So when Mandy and I connected, we got to work, and through the collaboration, we developed this episode for the series. Now, personally, I have experienced marginalization from within the Black community when I talk about my chosen career and when presenting the idea of sexuality as a right that is not only centered in reducing violence, but also reducing the stigmas that lead to violence. For example, stigmas around rap music and rap lyrics, or what someone is choosing to wear, or how someone should or shouldn't be acting either as a wife or a mom or a partner or even as a Black woman. And I know we're going to get into all of that. So I'll just continue on with a brief background about today's topic. Historically, Black women have faced numerous challenges and injustices specific to being a Black woman, one of which is silencing and censorship of our bodies, voices, and expressionism, particularly when discussing sexuality. This issue has deep roots in the history of racial oppression and gender discrimination, where Black women have been marginalized and denied the opportunity to express their thoughts and experiences freely. The Mammy, Jezebel, and Sapphire tropes, among other stereotypes, have limited our sexual agency and self expression. But as many others have said before, we are not a monolith. We are varied and diverse, and that includes our sexual expression and liberation. So, with that in mind, I am going to talk about my experiences, and we have invited our panelists here to share in their experiences.
Absolutely. And I just want to say a big thank you for you joining us for this and sharing your experiences. Thanks. That horn was right on time, wasn't it? So with that in mind, let's meet our panelists. Awesome. Okay, I have two fabulous other panelists with us today that I'm going to introduce you to. First up, I have Dr. Kimberly D.A., who is a dedicated pharmacist with a passion for patient care and also a steadfast advocate in her pursuit of justice and the protection of individual rights within educational and professional settings. Welcome to the panel, Dr. D.A.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. And we also have Olivia Payton, who is a comparative women's studies major at Spelman College and vice president of Planned Parenthood Generation Action and a founding member of the Visionaries, a radical action group on campus. We're thrilled to have you. Thanks for joining us, Olivia.
It's wonderful to be here.
So we're here to talk about censorship today, and I was wondering if, just to sort of get us started, you could tell us a little bit about a time where you may have felt censored or recognized a specific instance of censorship in your own life. And Dr. Diaz, start with you.
Yes, thank you. So basically, the entire time I was at UTHSC College of Pharmacy pursuing my pharmacy degree. It was not even a month in to the start of the program when I was called into the office by the professionalism committee saying that we needed to have a meeting. Later, I found out that someone anonymously reported my social media. And to this day, I don't know if that was all a facade or if one of my classmates actually did report me. I don't know. Um, but yeah, they told me that they didn't like what I posted, never gave me any specifics. So it was just very vague. I still don't know what they had an issue with. And that was just very confusing. I felt violated, especially since, again, no specifics were provided so that if I had broken a rule, I could amend, my behavior. But also, it was my personal time. And so I deserve the right to a personal life. I'm professional at work, at school, but I still want to be able to engage with my community outside of that. And so, just going through this whole ordeal with the lawsuit and, the remaining years at the institution, I began to recognize like this is happening to a lot of individuals, whether it be at school or in their professional careers, where these broad standards are set and the authority gets to pick and choose who's in compliance and who is deemed unprofessional. And so mostly it targets Black women, Black males. I think another example would be the whole issue of Black men and women with dreads, and that's deemed unprofessional. But other races, they might have hairstyles that our culture would not particularly wear, but who are we to deem it as unprofessional? It's how your hair naturally grows out of your head. And so, yeah, I just thought the whole situation was ridiculous. And the fact that it's happening nationwide is, very scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to mention, you're also engaged in some action against your university for what happened to you there, and I think maybe we'll kind of discuss that later on in the panel. But you didn't take it lying down. Yeah, and Olivia, tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience with censorship.
Yeah, so hello again. I think my experience with censorship is one that is ongoing. When we were asked the question of when have we experienced it, I struggled for my answer not to be every day. And it's unfortunate to say that, but that's my reality. I can remember specifically attending 2 different PWIs, a predominantly white institution, in my high school career. In 2 different states, might I add. So I was originally in Salem, Virginia, a very small town, and then I relocated to Johns Creek, Georgia. And at both schools, I can remember having conversations with my parents about code switching. I was getting bullied and ridiculed by my classmates of all colors, of all races. From, unfortunately, the Black side of things, I was being told that I was too proper. I was too prim. I wasn't really a Black girl. From the other side of things, I was being told that I was talking different, that I was moving different, right? And in both ways, I found myself having to redefine how I speak to certain populations. And I found that to be really problematic. I can remember even taking it a step further. I remember getting called up to the principal's office almost every other day for a dress code. I was always in violation of dress code. And I remember there was this one specific instance in which I had a crop top and shorts on. And I remember I got called up and they said, you can't have your midriff showing. That's inappropriate. You can't do that. So I said, okay, I'm going to go pull 3 girls out of the hallway who are wearing the exact same thing I am, but they have a different body type. Are you going to tell them it's inappropriate too? Because I was born with curves and I was born with what they like to say a mature body. Suddenly clothing on me is vulgar and disruptive, but clothing on a different ethnicity is seen as fine. Censorship is not just about, for me at least, how people are policing my language, but my body, my person in this world. It is the idea that they are perceiving me and telling me what they saw. without actually understanding anything to get there. And unfortunately, I still see that today at the collegiate institution I'm a part of. I attend Spelman College, and while they are very progressive in many regards, there's now policing in a different way. So because I present as somebody who is not necessarily subscribing to hyperfemininity at my institution, I'm also being seen as problematic. There's censorship in all different areas in the society, unfortunately. And I'm sure we're going to be discussing more of where we see them. But in general, I think censorship is an ongoing battle for all people and all persons, but even more so for the Black woman.
Thank you for sharing your story. I appreciate that you brought up you brought up talking about how we are policing ourselves at specific colleges, particularly the HBCU of Spelman being a highly regarded HBCU, is considered a Black Ivy League. So this question is for both of you, but I do want to start with you, Olivia. You are also, as mentioned in your bio, that you are an advocate for sex rights and reproductive rights. And I want to talk about this idea of Black excellence and what that means, because some might consider going to this HBCU that is prestigious, that is excellent. It might be considered contrasting with the idea of fighting for sex rights and fighting for abortions. So my question is, what has been your experience with navigating the idea of Black excellence while supporting sexual expression and liberation?
That was a lovely question. Thank you guys for asking. So if I understood correctly, we're dissecting how my role as an attendee of like an illustrious school such as Spelman is affecting kind of the perception of Black excellence, but even more so over Black autonomy.
Correct. And how you are personally navigating that.
Okay. Let me start out by saying this. When it comes to Spelman College in the HBCU world, I am very privileged. And I want to go ahead and say that now. I am privileged to be educated by Black individuals. I am privileged to be educated by Black women. I am privileged to specifically have a major such as comparative women's studies, in which the realm of Spelman that I am involved in, everybody who's educating me is a radical Black feminist. And I'm just going to lay it out like that. They are all radical Black feminists. So while my perspective and being at Spelman is that I am able to live in a bubble and an oasis as the Comparative Women's Studies Center, I am not naive to think that my sisters and my siblings are experiencing the same thing as I am. In fact, I know for a fact they're not. Mm-hmm. So to start out that kind of idea of excellence, when we talk about Spelman College, the #1 HBCU for 17 years, as we so lovingly embrace, that doesn't come without work and without kind of tolls on what excellence means. I think when students come into Spelman College our first year, we expect ourselves to achieve A's in every class. And if we're getting a B, it's a reflection of our character. We don't feel like we are doing better. But I also think that in a way, Spelman enables that mindset. They want us not to compete against our sisters, but are only advertising the successes that are so very unique, I should say. I think that they like to advertise things that the common woman is not doing. And that's not to say that that's not like, we love that they're doing it, but it is to say, when I first got here in my FYE class, which is first year experience, they put all the first years into one class. I was told that I needed to have an internship my first year. And that if I didn't have an internship, I was doing something wrong. Mm-hmm. That's the excellency that Spelman is pushing. So we are #1, but that's because we kill ourselves to get there. Now, again, being a comparative women's studies major, I am so blessed and highly favored to have women who represent me and represent my mental health, represent my physical health. In fact, my journey with reproductive justice started in Spelman, in the Comparative Women's Studies Center. Mm-hmm. Now, I always have been an advocate for such. I had a radical Black mother who took me to movements as far as I can remember with posters in my hand. But when I got to Spelman, it was more so that I had educators who were saying, hey, one of the classes that we're going to have you take is Black female body. We're going to have you learn about the perception of your body in American lenses in Western society. We're going to take a look at different cultures. We're going to take a look at different aesthetics of what it means to be Black and compare and contrast. So I had the basis of understanding that. Do I think that in some way, shape, or form that is something that's being widely spread across Spelman? No. There are plenty of students at Spelman College where their bodily autonomy is continuing to be policed by the classes they're in, by some of their siblings, by society at large. But again, I would say that my experience with such has been one of very uplifting and a radical lens, but I do accredit that to where I received my education from, specifically at Spelman. I have talked to numerous friends. Some of my closest friends are in different majors as I am, and they talk about how luxurious it is that I'm able to show up to class in whatever I want. I'm able to come to class in what makes me feel comfortable. Because if they were to step into their class, they would be told to leave because they weren't being presentative in a proper way, or presenting in a proper light, I should say. So I think there's a lot there. I hope that answered the question, but I think it's very different. My specific kind of understanding of my bodily autonomy, I am blessed and highly favored to go to a school that is all women, but I'm reminded of such every single day. Because while there is less policing done by my sisters, as soon as I step out of the gates of Spelman College, I have to remember who I am in this world. And the policeman of my body comes up time and time again. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that absolutely answers the question when you talk about, it being a progressive school, but there are still those juxtapositions of what the censorship and who is being censored for whatever reason. So yeah, I think that is something extremely interesting. And of course, that's your experience. So thank you for sharing that.
Kimberly. And I also wanted to note just something that I forgot to say, but it's very important to note. I want to clearly, for the record, state Spelman College is separated for any other school in the AUC. So when I say I feel safe at Spelman, that does not mean I feel safe in the AUC as a Black woman. Those are two different things. There's 100% policing being done by our brother institution on our bodies. In fact, I organized protests against such. So again, just to be clear, Spelman College is doing a great job of not policing the women who are here in specific settings. But I would not say that we are doing a great job as the AUC of fixing that issue.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for clarifying that. And just for those who don't know, the AUC is made up of 4 colleges: Spelman College, Morehouse, Morris Brown, I believe, is still a part of the AUC, and Clark Atlanta University. So I do want to ask you the same thing. Should I call you? Is it okay to call you Kimberly?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I don't want to disrespect your name. So I want to ask you that same question, Kimberly. You being a doctor, a Black female doctor, what has been your experience with navigating this idea of Black excellence while supporting your sexual expression and liberation?
So within any professional setting, there are professionalism standards. I don't know who has created these standards, but they exist. So Black excellence, it celebrates the achievements within the Black community. And, it was created to include us in those professionalism standards, especially for my profession. And so what I have recognized being in this setting is that they've created an almost impossible standard. And when you're Black, they feel as though if you don't look, act, talk like the other Black people they have already accepted, then you're not included. You're inappropriate. You're unprofessional. And therefore, you cannot be successful in this realm because we need you to be Black like the other Black people that we've already let into our circle. And so it has almost created a weird, clique in a sense. Not only have I been censored by other people that don't look like me, but the Black women, the Black men that were included and did get accepted, since I don't match them to a T, I've also been censored by them. And so I'm a pharmacist. I promote sexual health. I have patients that come that may be too embarrassed to speak with their other physicians, but they're asking me about sexual reproductive health all the time. And so I have to be comfortable speaking to them about this so that they can get the best care possible. And in my personal life, yes, I am sexually active. I do promote that. I promote safe sex, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I think the idea in the healthcare community that as an individual, I should not be talking about sex is absolutely ridiculous when that is how most of us got brought into this world. And we also are professionals that have to treat sexually transmitted disease and other things of that nature. Reproductive health, we discuss a lot with patients. So, yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous that I've been censored regarding sexual advocacy. It is absolutely ridiculous that I have been censored regarding sexual advocacy when that is a part of my profession.
All right, so thank you for defining that Black excellence for us and what that means. And you also touched a little bit on how Black excellence can be used as a weapon and using censorship as a weapon. So while I don't think undermining women's sexual expression and sexual agency is unique to Black women or women of color, I do believe that all women experience misogyny in one form or another. However, I do think that these actions can be weaponized to affect Black women in a way that demoralizes, dehumanizes, criminalizes, and censors us specifically if we are sexually expressive or suggestive. So can you talk about how this type of weaponization has affected you and your experiences? Kimberly, we'll start with you.
Yes, so just to preface my answer, I am currently embroiled in a lawsuit against my former institution. It's the UTHSC College of Pharmacy, and they attempted to expel me and impose other restrictions on my freedom of speech and freedom of expression while I was a student. But luckily, since then, I have graduated in May of 2023. But while I was, yes, thank you. So while I was still a student, though, like I said, they attempted to expel me. They had these overbroad and very vague professionalism standards. I don't know who created them, but they existed. And I was told that my social media and some of the things I was wearing broke those policies and standards. But from what I saw, those policies were not held to every student. And so, again, no specifics were ever really provided as to what I did to break these rules. It was just said that they found my behavior on social media inappropriate. But that's relative. What's inappropriate to one person may not be inappropriate to another. And again, I was on my personal free time. My social media was not affiliated with the institution. And so I had every right to engage in discussions of sexuality or post pictures in a dress or a bikini, what have you, because I'm in my own time. And so there were other students doing the same thing, but because they don't look like me, no one ever approached them with threats of expulsion or other repercussions. And so to have these vague standards that were not set by anyone I even know, weaponized against me was very heartbreaking. Again, being a Black woman, I have a larger frame. I am curvier. And so me wearing a bikini looks different than someone else wearing a bikini, especially if they are of a smaller frame and on the thinner side. But that doesn't make it inappropriate just because I have more body to fill out the bikini. And so I had pictures side by side, and again, no one questioned my colleagues on how they were dressed outside of the institution, but I was attacked. And so in general, I do think that Black women we are already hypersexualized, and the minute we own that, take it, and say, well, I find power in my sexuality, then it becomes a problem. We're deemed as immoral and lacking decorum, which is absolutely false. I deserve to be able to engage in topics of sexuality. I deserve to be able to engage in the activities that make me feel powerful. And for them to say that I'm unprofessional and that I am unworthy of continuing on in the program to earn my doctorate because of that was absolutely ludicrous. They definitely infringed upon my personal rights. And that is why I decided to stick up for myself and engage in this lawsuit, because I don't want anyone to ever have to go through this. It's 2024 now, and it's just ridiculous that they have set these unclear standards and then, unequally apply them to everyone. So at the base of it, I do believe race was involved, because like I said, there were other students doing the same thing, but nothing was ever said to them. But I was the one that got called out. But they picked the wrong one when they chose to pick on me. So all I can say is that we're still undergoing legal action at this time, and I'm hoping I will finally get justice soon.
I hope that for you as well. You talked about respectability politics and professionalism, and those words and those ideas in general are steeped in racism. So yeah, that is definitely how I think censorship is being used to as a weapon against us, specifically our bodies. So, Olivia, I know you talked a little bit about having the same type of issue. I think you said in high school as well, with the policy being weaponized against you. So, can you talk a little bit more about that, or if you have another instance of when you were censored and how it could have been used against you as a weapon?
Yeah, so like I said, in high school, it was a running joke at my high school that the curvier girls or the plus size girls, we were going to get dress coded, while the girls standing directly next to us wouldn't. Like at some point, we just started joking about it, but it's unfortunate to even think that we found it funny that our bodies were being policed in such way. I will say I didn't have a revelation of what was necessarily happening completely until I got to college. And Dr. Kimberly, I'm so sorry for the experience that you had at your upper level education and what happened to you, because I've had nothing but the exact opposite experience at Spelman. But I do think that what you said is something should be noted. Dr. Kimberly brought up the race component. I go to an all-Black female institution where majority of the students here identify as women. Now, obviously, there are non-binary students and different students who happen to go to Spelman, but it is majority women. And that being said, I have had ample amount of opportunities to express my body in different ways. We have what's called Festival of Eccentrics, which is literally a time for you to embrace your natural body. We have different competitions. It's almost similar to ballroom culture, where we have different competitions to show off, your body, to show off what you have, what your mama gave you type energy. We have vagina monologues, which is literally an opportunity for people of the AUC to come and speak their truth about the majesticness of the vagina. So at my institution, there is a celebration of Black bodies. There's a celebration of how you are able to walk and how you are able to be. However, I would say the censorship is in a different way. So while I am able to be a woman on my campus, that is the only thing I can be on my campus. So I say that to say we are able to celebrate our Black womanhood. But the second that I start to identify as a person who is not a woman, but is a queer person, suddenly there's a censorship about what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. It is no secret that Spelman College is rooted in tradition. So we still have a celebration every Founders Day, which is April 11th, 1881 was when we were founded. But every Founders Day, we are expected to wear a white dress to knee length with stockings on underneath. And it should cover your shoulders, because if spaghetti straps are showing, well, that's just inappropriate. And even more so, I, as a non-binary student, and a couple of my non-binary friends, we had decided to wear pantsuits. So we were like, we're not necessarily comfortable in a dress. Let's put pantsuits on. And while that is allowed at Spelman College and like the rules and regulations, it's frowned upon when the alumni come back. Because then we have older women and different generations of women going, that wasn't accepted in my day. Are you trying to look like a boy? Well, yes, actually, that's the goal. So it's very interesting the way that my body is policed at my institution, because while I do not think that they are policing the femininity of things, I think the older generations do come back to police the campus. Spelman has a very big alumna connections, and I think that when they come back to Spelman, there is a level of, they're allowing you to wear that? Yeah, my clothing doesn't impede my education. It's actually so interesting, the fact that I can take a test no matter what I'm wearing. That really is not something that comes into play when we're talking about academia. So I do think that there is, let me say it like this. As Spelman College, we do an amazing job of recognizing the censorship that is done on Black bodies. So much so that we have classes that are required at Spelman College, like Intro to Comparative Women's Studies, which teaches you about your body in this world. We have classes such as Black female bodies in resistance, so we can see the transition of what it means to resist in your natural setting. We have opportunities like, Vagina Monologues, FOE, Art After Dark, which is literally what I would say is an artist collective speaking about the things that happen in the bedroom that we're not supposed to talk about. So Spelman does a great job of recognizing those things. But the problem is, we at Spelman College are able to live in our truth. But as soon as I walk outside and I start looking at them boys across the street, my body is completely objectified. I can be in my skin at my institution, but as soon as I walk to my brother institution, suddenly I'm an object for their taking. That's the problem. That we as Black women can create an environment, a safe space for us. But no matter how many safe spaces we seem to be articulating, creating, expressing for ourselves, the moment I step outside, suddenly my body is for yours to perceive. That's the problem. So I think that while we had very different experiences, Dr. Kimberly, one of the things that I found in both of our stories that were parallels is, when we have different people perceiving our bodies, what is justified as appropriate changes. Because while it would 100% be seen as appropriate for you to post that way at my institution, at yours, it was a completely different kind of perspective. And I could only liken that to the fact that the people who are my judgment days, the people who I have to step up to and ask to perceive me, look like me, with hips, dips, and curves the same. So that's a luxury that I just get afforded. But again, if we move into the different realm where we become more masculine, or if I choose to dress like a more masculine, emphasized version of myself, then it becomes almost I'm asking for attention in the wrong ways. So it's very interesting the way censorship goes. And to take it even a step further, you guys had mentioned how I work for Planned Parenthood Generation Action at Spelman College. One of the events that we threw was called the Big O. Secrets out, O stands for orgasm. We threw an entire event that was specifically dedicated to women having sexual autonomy over themselves. And the idea being, as unfortunate as it is, women and people get to college, men too, all people get to college, and because they have been hyper policed in their high school careers, as I had, they kind of get to college and it's okay, let's go buck wild. Let's try everything. Let's do everything, which is amazing. But the issue being, you're not necessarily exploring yourself before you're exploring another person's body. So then when things don't feel good, we don't know how to articulate that or communicate that. So the purpose of the Big O was to get to know your body. We gave away sex toys. We were like, hey, listen, come get you a sex toy because you need to know what you like before you go experimenting with somebody else. Let's learn how to put a condom on together, because if he says he doesn't know how to put one on, I do. Like, let's start to, stop the quiet conversations and the whispers and the Jezebel tropes at our institution. Yes, we are a historically Christian institution. However, we are still sexually uplifted. So it's not a secret that Spelman women are, engaging in those activities. But the purpose of Planned Parenthood, the purpose in that moment was to say, can we do it in a safe way? So if somebody comes to you and says, this is the reason why we can't have safe sex, you have an answer as to why that's not going to work. And it was a really beautiful event. But what I will say is the amount of students, educators, alumni who looked at me and who said, Olivia, that's not appropriate. Why would you even post that? Why would you do that? It was heartbreaking, let me tell you, because I would have sisters sitting in the same room, my age, who I just had a conversation with last week about where to get a plan B at, who are saying that it's inappropriate for me to advertise sex in a safe way. As soon as you change the language and we stop saying like, we modernify the language. So we start saying things such as like, self-love, self-expression, things of that nature, people will listen more. But if I tell you exactly what we're talking about, if I say, hey, let's have a conversation about how to have sex with yourself so you know what you like and dislike, so you are more comfortable in a different setting, that's inappropriate. Why? I'm over the age of 18. I'm an adult in your eyes. So let's talk about grown folk business that you so clearly don't want me to talk about. Let's get into it. But unfortunately, no matter where you go, there is going to be a censorship, not just by administration, but by the people who are your same age. Because in this society, we have trained women to think that discussing their bodies is inappropriate. We go back to people such as Josephine Baker, the original Black woman who was presenting their bodies. And we say, that's the Jezebel trope. We're not going to do that anymore because that's inappropriate. You know what I mean? I can't wear that. I can't have a low cut blouse because I do have bigger attributes and people are going to stare. So that's a no-no. But again, when I reclaim it for myself and I go, let's talk about it. Let's have that open conversation. People in my age group who are engaging in these things are also the ones censoring me, which somehow hurts me more. Because I can chalk a lot of things up to you being old and you not being hip or whatever I want to say. But the reality is we as Black women have continuously been over-censored. And we as women in general have been over-policed and over-examined that now we are so afraid to live in our truth that we are passing on that trauma to others. I am so sorry you are not sexually liberated, but I am. So I'm going to live in my truth. I'm going to dance. I'm going to twerk. I'm going to do all of that because guess what? It's a part of my culture. So I'm going to live in my color and live in my shine and my sunshine. But as soon as you see me doing that, suddenly you want to revert back to what we have been told, which is that high school analogy I made of being over policed. Because it's not a racial issue in totality. It is an everybody issue. Like, it's not a generational thing. Everybody's kind of presenting this confines and this construct against each other. I really am a firm believer that we need to be sexually liberated as a person before we start to advocate for sexual liberation. And I don't think a lot of people want to understand what like that kind of idea means. But yeah, that's what I have to say surrounding censorship. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So this question is for the both of you. We'll start with you, Kimberly. If a First Amendment expert were here or anyone who is fighting censorship legislation were here, what is something that you would like to share with them so that you could better prepare them to advocate on your behalf?
Okay, thank you so much. This actually isn't a question I've thought a lot about, so I appreciate you asking it. I've been fortunate that I've had my legal team behind me sort of navigating this whole entire situation with me and at times on my behalf so that I could focus on my coursework. And now I'm able to focus on my career since I've graduated. But something that I'd like to express to everyone is that taking this sort of a stance is at times extremely isolating. And so I was devastated when I got the letter saying that they were going to expel me. And I suffered a mental breakdown almost. And I'm still expected to go take an exam the next day or the next week. And so just the pure mental exhaustion, the emotional toll that things of this nature can play on an individual, I mean, something should be done, or at least should be in place as far as resources to better help individuals while they're on this pursuit of justice. Because, like I said, I was completely isolated. I felt alone. I felt targeted. And it really could have helped if I had someone on my side in an emotional and mental capacity to just, discuss things with. And I think that is sometimes overlooked. I mean, I do feel like I'm brave in a sense for pursuing my lawsuit, but I'm not always the strong friend and I need help too sometimes. And so I'm taking this brave stance, but I would just appreciate it if the emotional devastating aspect of it all was put into perspective. That doesn't make sense. I'm sorry.
I think it makes
It does
I
make
think
sense.
I think it makes perfect sense.
Okay,
To
like,
me.
yeah, I just want them to know like how truly devastating this sort of censorship is and the emotional toll that it takes on individuals so that they can really use that as a weapon to fight harder. Because, I'm already going through a lot, and then I'm told that I can't say this, I can't do this, and that freedom, that infringement upon that freedom, it's a heavier weight than I think most people realize. Not being able to speak your mind when you have every right to do so.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And of course, there is so much trauma, as you said, when you're trying to be your authentic self and someone is telling you, no, you can't do it. So, Olivia, I want to ask the same to you. If a First Amendment expert were here fighting and advocating on your behalf, what is something that you would like them to know?
I want to say this with the utmost respect for my sisters and siblings in this world, but we need to step our game up. As Dr. Kimberly has gotten on this call and kind of in a very vulnerable state of expressed, I've experienced the exact same thing. Those of us who are willing to say something, people don't account for how hard that is. They love to say, well, you're just strong, Olivia. That's why you did it. No, I did it for us. I don't need you to be the person speaking right now, but you need to be the person who has their hand on my shoulder so I don't fall. Because while I am able to get up and to have that energy and to advocate, I've organized 4 different demonstrations or protests on Spelman's campus. And every single one of those, I've been looking for people to support me. Because while it is so easy to say, it's your right, freedom of speech, not when that's being taken away from me. So when I am censored and when things are happening to your sibling, it is so easy for people to kind of say, well, she shouldn't have spoken up. Like she's asking for that ridicule because she was the one who said something. But I'm fighting for the people behind me. My mother once said, to be a pioneer was never easy, and nobody talks about it. We give our applause to the women and the people who have done our bidding, who have fought for us, who have made revolutions in this world. But y'all never talk about the mental toll it took for them to get there, what it looks like after it was completed. Because as much as me and Dr. Kimberly want to stand on those front lines and fight for you all, we need somebody to make sure we are okay. So while the experts are out there, if I get a chance to talk to you, what I want to tell you is it's okay to take a step away from what's written in paper to understand the emotional component behind it. I need people to understand that logic and emotion is not separate worlds, but two that need to be bridged to accomplish something beautiful. You cannot understand what it is like to take away my First Amendment without understanding the emotional repercussions it had. So for a second, step out of yourself. Empathy is not just a word we have to learn, people, but something we need to continue to demonstrate and work on. Put yourself in my shoes. How did it feel? Were you scared? Because I was. It's not easy to do the things that we do. It's scary at sometimes. I've gone against Spelman administration more times than I could shake a stick at. And every time I do, there is one thing that I always have in place: the Comparative Women's Studies Center to ensure that I'm okay. Because before I make a decision, that decision is not for Olivia Payton. That decision is for the sisters who are currently at my institution. That decision is for the sisters who are coming into my institution. The decision that I made is so that way, when I am long gone and graduated, somebody can go, thank you. And that's what we need to remember. It is not about you in this moment. It is about the legacy of what you will leave, and that more so the legacy you will be taking away. Keep that in mind, because the First Amendment can be selfish, but it also can be one that can help generations relieve trauma. So ask yourselves, do you want to be on the right side of history or the wrong side?
Yeah, yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I feel really privileged that you all shared your experiences and your brilliance with us today. And I have one last question, and it's similar to the last question, but it's slightly different. And one of the goals of our censorship series here at Woodhull is, of course, we want to educate and we want to raise awareness, but we also like to give our attendees some tools or some actions that they can take with them once they close the Zoom room today. And so I'm wondering, each of you, I'd love to hear your answer to this. For those who were listening today who are moved by your story, what would you like to see them do in their own community to keep censorship from happening to the folks around them? This could be something small, this could be something big, and I want to echo what you said, Olivia, that it sounds like checking in with folks and just telling them you're there to support them emotionally and kind of take care of them is a really good first step. And so, I'm kind of looking for if there are some other actions or things you might suggest folks look into. Would love to hear from each of you. And, Olivia, I'm actually going to start with you and then we'll go over to you, Dr. DA.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, there's a lot of little things that people can do to ensure censorship doesn't happen. I think the first thing is, number one, check on the people in your community, right? So something as simple as, hey, you feeling okay? Like, do you feel confident today? If not, how can I make you feel more confident? Because we all deserve to live in our skin, in our truth, right? I think that's something we could just start with. I think the other thing is, if you see something that's happening on your campus, in your life, in your world, that you are staring in awe of or admiration for, let's say you see somebody who's organizing a demonstration or a protest, you might not be comfortable yet to be the one rallying or the one leading it. But what I would recommend you guys do is go, hey, I'm too scared to be on the front lines yet, but what can I do to help you and support you? You would not believe how far that goes. I have people in my life who have very clearly stated they are too scared to be the face of some of the demonstrations that I've led, but they were vital in organizing it. That's okay. I think a lot of people in this world think that when we fight against censorship and things of this really big, this big world, they think that they have to be this big presence. You can also help behind the scenes, and that is still just as valuable. So please don't think that because you're not the person speaking or the one on camera, that your voice doesn't matter, that your help doesn't matter, because it does.
Right.
For people like me who are tired, we're always the ones kind of in that front and center moment. I would love for somebody else to go, hey, Olivia, I can organize the flyers for you. I'll take that weight off of you. That's a way for you to help against the fight. And the last thing, this is something small that I started implementing. I'm going to teach y'all a cute little trick to check if somebody is feeling good about themselves, because I think censorship is not just done in a way that's like by administration, by this big force, by society, but can also be done with your friends. So the first thing I want to say is when you go to a party, when you go to an event, it's real simple. You're going to look at somebody and you're going to give them a thumbs up. You're going to go, hey, you okay? They can go middle or they can go down. And that's a way for you to just simply check on somebody. Because if they go like this to you, I guarantee their bodies are being policed. I guarantee their voice is not being heard in that moment. If you look at them and they go, I guarantee that something's going on. So to help them and to help whatever's happening with their person, because it always connects to them being policed in some type of way. Maybe they felt like they couldn't say something. Maybe they're uncomfortable with what they're wearing because somebody's looking at them. Maybe they just feel not represented in that space. A quick check-in. The other thing I want to, this is very small, but something that can just help you start to understand the big components of censorship. I want you to ask your loved ones what compliment they like to receive best. This is very small, people, but last year I was going through, I'm a college kid, everybody goes through one. But I had a whole kind of crisis where I didn't know what my person in this world looked like. Like, I wasn't sure if she was feminine or masculine or who they were in the society. And I felt like being at an all-girls institution, it was very hard to find my place. I felt like because I was part of a sisterhood, I had to be a girl. And I don't think that really, felt right inside of me. So I was talking to my friends, and my beloved friend, Naya, if you watch this, I love you. But my beloved friend, Naya, she was like, you look very handsome today. And I said, really? I got so excited. I was like, what? Really? She was like, yeah, you look really handsome. And then she goes, do you like that compliment? And I was like, I love it. She was like, cool. I'm going to start saying you look handsome then. Come to find out, I hate when people tell me I look beautiful. It really is one of those compliments that it doesn't make me feel good, because I don't want to be perceived as beautiful. I want to be handsome. I want to be something that is a little bit more androgynous for my safety. And in that little moment, there was a kind of, what I like to say, society winked at me. Because for everything that I've been through, for every person in this chat who has experienced their body being policed, who has experienced somebody else telling them who they are, that moment I said, I'm Olivia right now. This is me. I feel okay in my skin today. I feel good. I want to reiterate, things do not have to be done on a monumental scale to make change. If you experience empathy for a person and just simply check in with them, checking in, ask them what they want to be described as. Check yourself, because I think that while we are fighting against censorship, make sure you're not censoring the people you love most near and dear to your heart. Because every time that I have somebody kind of give me that compliment, it's not something I want to hear, but you wouldn't know that. Don't go up against the big bad guys without checking yourself first.
Yeah.
Because there's growth to be done for all of us.
Yeah. That one-to-one connection, person-to-person connection is often really super, super powerful. All right. Dr. DA, what are your thoughts? What are some actionable ideas for our audience before we wrap up for the day?
Thank you. So I don't have anything monumentous to share. I'd really just say know yourself and then know your role and what's within your capacity to do. So if you can go to DC and lobby on the front lines, do that. But I think what's much more reasonable, a much more reasonable expectation is just if you are in a situation where you yourself are being censored or you witness someone else being censored, if you have privilege to fight for them in that instance, take it. Because sometimes it's as simple as just correcting your friend's behavior if they make an inappropriate comment about someone's appearance or what they're wearing or anything of that nature. And if you come to them as a friend because you already have that one-on-one relationship, they hopefully will receive what you tell them. So yeah, just do what's within your capacity to do. And if you possess privilege in that moment to stick up for the next person, please do that. Because I cannot express how meaningful it's been to have people that I didn't even know reach out to me and say that they're fighting the fight in their own way, and that I encouraged them and I gave them hope. And I just would hope that everyone would want to be good to their fellow man by just doing what they can. So that's all that I could really suggest in this moment.
Absolutely. I think those are excellent reminders and important for all of us who want to change the world to keep in mind, right? It all starts with like how we react to our neighbors, how we treat our neighbors and the people in our lives. So thank you again. I can't thank all of you enough for being here. Again, I appreciate everything you shared with us today. Jamila, thank you for agreeing to co-host and take on this project with me. And those folks who are listening, thanks for listening. I hope you learned something today. This conversation was a little different than what we typically do for our censorship series, and but I think super impactful. So thanks for joining us today. And we're here every single month. So we'll be back in May with a new topic. Still talking about censorship, but in a different way. And I'd love to see you all there. Please head on over to woodhullfoundation.org/donate. If you learned something today, we strive to make these programs free and accessible for everybody, but they're not free to produce. So if you can support us, we would very much appreciate it. And I will see everybody back here on Zoom in May. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.